for the derby. A fixture that traditionally has been played at the top of the Premier League. Not the case this season. Was it any less competitive?
No, I think, the City certainly, I think, from the start of the game, set their intentions clear. When you come into a derby, it's all about the emotion and keeping a clear head and not letting it bubble over. But I think, the real matchup for me, looking at the game before it started, was obviously the midfield. I think United have struggled to try and get that balance in there. Whereas obviously City have got that kind of spine throughout the team that have been there, been gelled together for a little bit longer. So I think that was where the game was going to be decided.
Well, let's take a look at the two teams that the managers put on the pitch to start the game. You mentioned that you felt it was going to be won and lost in midfield. When you saw the teams, did you feel, when you see Bruno and Ugarte probably in there alone up against what is now an energetic Manchester City midfield in those two, did you feel City had the upper hand?
Yeah, I think when you look at it on paper, I think straight away you notice it is City's strength and their depth within that team. I think, like I said before, United are still trying to piece together, and I think they're still trying to find their way. And there certainly are cracks, which we'll get into, but obviously City exploited.
Well, I thought it was a brilliant start by Manchester City right from the kickoff. I think they set their intentions out. Now, I've seen Manchester City play in derbies. I've seen them play in every game that you possibly can. And for the majority of times, they try and dominate the ball. They'll take a kick-off at the back. They'll play it about and keep the ball. That was not the case in this game. Right from the very kick-off, their intent was to get the ball forward, long ball, direct, get players in and around the opposition penalty area. Look at that long ball, get it into this area of the field. Let's go compete. Let's go make people head the ball. We've got Erling Haaland going, even a bump on De Ligt, getting the ball in there. And just felt they started with this intent to go and let's put it on you, let's win physical battles, let's create chances. They were nearly rewarded after only seconds of the game.
Absolutely, and I think when you step into a derby like this, your intentions are laid out clear. And I think, in that first opening scene, City have shown it straight away. They want to get into United's final third, and they want to, just kind of build some momentum. United had quite a few opportunities there to clear the ball, but when City get into that final third, that's when they come alive. That's when their connections happen, and obviously when you've got Haaland up top and Doku cutting in and his fast feet and Phil Foden playing together, there's always going to be chances created, and they set their stall out very early, and obviously nearly took the lead in the opening seconds of the game.
But they certainly did. But they weren't shy of playing the long ball and leaving people in advanced areas. And whether this was because this is just the way Donnarumma plays, or whether this is a new idea around City, we'll wait and see. But just as I run this ball backwards, City back to the goalkeeper. Just move that forward a couple of frames. How often do we see every goalkeeper in the Premier League now, not just Manchester City goalkeepers, but they have to now look for these passes, and actually two are available.
They certainly are. They certainly are. And I think the worrying thing for me here is just the space that is in this area here that United have vacated, and they've got no cover. They've got no protection. Their midfielders are drawn out wide. One's advanced, and that exposes the back four. And if he does play that ball into there, which by all means he's got the quality to do so, they're at your back four straight away. Obviously, as it develops, you obviously see he plays off the front man once again, goes and competes for the ball, which is great, picking up second balls. United are, and you can see here.
Oh, yeah, look, playing the ball long, you're getting overloads in areas of the field.
Exactly, and you can see that, Bruno Fernandes is in here, he's out of position. He's got a lot to do to get back into position, and he finds himself advancing the ball, which you'll know more than me as a midfielder. When you're advancing the ball against the quality and the pace that City have, you're in a lose-lose position there.
Yeah, and I was always thought as well, when that kind of happens and a Bruno steps in, that automatically makes you feel like defenders sort of have to start stepping into positions that they don't necessarily want to do, and making chances and creating opportunities is about finding a way to beat your opposition. Yes, you can play through the lines, but you can play direct like they have done. So, yes, they don't necessarily win the first ball, But look, now Euro's got in a poor position. Erling Haaland, sharp all afternoon, gets that. And now look at that. Suddenly, Manchester City, 4v3, going into the final third.
Yep.
Manchester United, a little bit of panic, a little bit of worry, opportunities, options, you'd say. He can go inside the fullbacks on either side to try and play, and he's got pace. He could keep going himself. But, I just thought it was really good to see City playing in a different way and still having success on a different day. Brings that one in, and that's a goal.
Yeah, dare I say, maybe they watched us and obviously the Community Shield, and playing off the front man and then linking in and playing in behind causes issues. As a defender, I don't want to be running back to my own goal. Mm-hmm. That's the worst thing for me, especially when you've got the likes of City running at you. It's always going to be a challenge to cope with that. Haaland there as well, driving with the ball. Once he's up into momentum, it's very difficult to stop, and then he can play off and create those chances.
I thought again, we obviously highlight week in, week out Manchester City playing in pockets, playing on half term in good spaces. Again, I want to show you just something else. I think O'Reilly's getting the ball in this corner with his back to goal. How often will we see him try and turn that way or try and turn this way, play under pressure, try and find a pass? No thought of it. I'm in a bit of trouble. I don't know what's behind me. I'm just going to play this long. That's not a problem for me. I think the impressive thing was the reaction from every other City player. Just look at the reaction from these guys to try and say, okay, we were open. We tried to play up from the back. It hasn't worked. Now watch how quickly we reassess. We get around the ball and win the ball back and force Manchester United backwards. Look at Haaland.
Yeah, and I think that, for me, that shows their intent from the off. They're together as a team. They're working together as a team, and they want to keep the pitch compact. Yes, they'll be spread when they've got it, and if they feel like it's right, they will be spread out, and they will dictate play, and they will control the game. But it's great to see them mixing it and go in long, because if he gets it down in the bottom corner, O'Reilly, there's nothing wrong with keeping the ball there. But it allows United to get some sort of shape, and playing off the front early, quickly, obviously enables City to get up the pitch. And you see here how they kind of come in and start to press and set a trap. And then United really are just kind of causing their own issues. What's great here, obviously, you see City are in fantastic positions here. Haaland, obviously, leading the line. You've got runners coming off him that are happy to run in behind and make those runs to attract players and to draw people out of their positions. But for me, straight away, that pass forward allows him to get turned, and then with his quality, when he gets in these areas, he's going to make things happen. And obviously on this one, it just hits the post.
It was a big surprise, wasn't it?
It was a big surprise when you see his height and his stretch and everything like that. Obviously, it was unlucky not to go in, but he's shown the intent to get in behind defences, to cause them issues. And unfortunately, I think United were just kind of making their own mistakes as well.
Yeah, I agree. But that's City playing kind of on the front foot, playing a bit differently with regards to, playing it long, trying to beat the press. But this is also how quick they were in the tackle. They were happy to drop back defensively, City. They didn't always press all over the pitch. They made themselves nice and compact in the middle. They allowed United to have opportunities to play the ball into these wide areas and pounced, but they were good in the tackle, and from that they've got the energy now to really break forward and really make a difference on the counter-attack when they get them opportunities.
Absolutely, and you can see United are the ones who are stretched, but unfortunately I don't see the same intent to get back into shape. I think you look at City in that incident, they're compact, they win the ball and they can break from it. United are spread and they don't get back into shape, and then it starts to cause them issues. And like I said before, when you've got willing runners to go and the quality that they have, they're going to cause issues and they're going to cause you problems. Obviously this one again goes wide, but hey.
Yeah, so I thought it was a good afternoon for Manchester City. I think Pep will be pleased with what he saw, and I thought the stats were different from what I'm used to. As I talked, Manchester City at home, only 45% possession. I think it was quite obvious that they tried to play a different style of game. Maybe that was the derby. I'm interested to see them moving forward, whether we're maybe going to start seeing a different kind of City because they look more dangerous, they look more competitive, they look like they were going to score goals easier, which is exactly what Pep Guardiola would want.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, in doing that, it's maybe flipping it and going, right, okay, how can we get the consistency around winning again? And putting teams on back foot. Yes, if we can dictate the ball, then great. We know they can do that, City. That's a City team. But can they mix it when it gets difficult, when they've got to try and find a different solution? Can they go to a different way of playing? And they showed that in this game, and obviously possession speaks for itself. But obviously the only one that matters is top left of the corner when they're 3-0 up.
Well, it does. And of those 3 goals, 2 of them were scored by Erling Haaland. He was officially given the man of the match honour, but this is what he had to say while he received it.
There's a player of the match award to give out. Could have been Jeremy, could have been Phil.
Been anyone there?
It's Erling. Would you mind, Phil?
Well deserved, my
Thank you, mate.
I might give it to
Gigi to Donnarumma, actually.
Yeah.
Some save, wasn't it?
He was unbelievable.
Oh, he was.
Don't forget him.
It's not very often in a moment like that, you've won 3-0 at home, you've scored 2 of the goals, you want to give the award to your goalkeeper, is it? I mean, but he made a real impact, didn't he, yesterday, Donnarumma?
Absolutely, and I think that's something that maybe City have missed at times, is someone that can keep them in the game.
We'll just have a look over us.
You can see in these big moments when you've got a keeper in the goal who can, make saves look easy in that regards, and can get down low and are agile. He makes a great decision here to close down the space, make himself big. And this, as a defender, there's nothing better when you see a keeper come, take everyone out and punch it clear. It's fantastic. And wow, I mean, you don't need to say too much about that. I mean, the way in which he covers the ground here to get a strong palm out.
But for all those people who think keepers, it's easy, have a look at the speed at which that happens. He wanted to show that from his point of view in the goal. It's a great save. We always see them in slow motion. That's how quickly goalkeepers have to react on the pitch. That's how little thinking time they've got. But he shows brilliant agility and looks like he'll be a great acquisition.
Absolutely. I'm excited to see how he develops and how he comes into this City team. And obviously, from day one, he's made a big impact. So it'd be exciting to see how he kind of develops as he gets on.
So positive for Manchester City, but there is a flip side to the coin in obviously the Manchester derby, which was, again, a lot of discussions coming out of it about Manchester United, about poor performance, the manager's under pressure, about the shape. Are you starting to get a bit frustrated? Are you starting to understand all the talk about the lack of understanding about United at the moment?
Yeah, I think the thing for me is it's unfortunate that we're always kind of picking up on the negatives in many ways, and the struggle that they're going on. It's not always nice to be talking about, but in this incident here, they're creating their own issues. It's the fundamentals and it's the basics of football. I'm obviously going to look at this as a defensive-minded player.
Yeah.
But there's just a catalyst of errors, and whether that's communication, I'm not sure.
Well, we'll talk the shape. We'll just see it right from the very start. Look, this is the first goal. This is Manchester United shape. There's your back 4. There's your midfield 2. And there's your front 3. At the moment, set up okay, but it only takes a couple of seconds, it seems, for this team to really get themselves in bad decisions. I ask you, is that bad decision-making by individuals? Is that poor understanding of the position? Is that not good enough coaching to let them understand the position? How do you see it?
I think probably confidence plays a huge part. And then I think it comes down to communication and the belief in what they're doing. Just seems like they're a little bit lacklustre in this situation. If we roll this forward slowly as Rodri gets turned here, like for me, if I just stop it there straight away, like as a defender, and you're playing in the back 3.
Well, you've played in a back 3 many years. You've got a real understanding of this.
Exactly, and for me, here you see Luke Shaw. For me, I feel like he can start to jump. But one thing I would say is the gap here is too big. I then think that, Bruno is caught in no man's land. So he's out of position as well. for me, I want to see potentially striker come in a little bit closer into this area here, and then that allows the other midfielder to jump, Amma to close the middle, and if they can play wide, that's the best result. But what you can't have is people in between the lines. Doku, we know what he's like as a player, how sharp he is as a player. If he gets in that position and gets turned, he's going to cause any defence issues. Then as you roll it forward, you can see it all starts to unpack. He gets turned, and then here, I want to highlight this because for me, when you've got 4 players, like a 4v2 or 4v1, it turns out really, you've got to try and stop him. I think Luke Shaw gets caught square, and then you've got the wing back. Has got to recognise this danger here as it plays forward. He's got to recognise the danger to try and have an impact on the run. I think De Ligt has to come across to try and protect his mate and cover his back. But it just seems very reactive. And then when they get into reactive, then they're just responding to what City are doing, and they're not dictating to City what they want them to do. And then obviously I think you see here as well, people going to sleep. Bruno getting caught on the cold shoulder, Phil Foden making a run into the box.
As a midfielder, I see that kind of thing. Bruno had 3 or 4 yards on Phil Foden at that one point, and I don't put it down to Bruno not getting back to do his job. I think it's an instinctual thing. I think if you're going to play as one of those 2 midfielders for Manchester United, I think you have to sense danger. I think he's best further up the pitch, and in trying to get him on the pitch in the centre, there's no position for a number 10, it seems, in a Manchester United team. So to get him in, he's playing deeper, and as a midfielder, I think that's going to get you caught out defensively.
Yep.
Well, this was the opening goal. No reaction, as we taught. The ball falls to Foden in the middle of the penalty area. But this kind of thing could happen so often again. There's your back 5, midfield 2, front 3 again. And what I will say is, and I think we'll see it more in this clip, these front 2 are all front wide players are always part of a front 3. They never help those midfield 2. They never, you talk about part of you in a Crystal Palace team. Those players, it may have been Eze and Elise or Sarr, whoever it was. I always felt like they were part. I always felt like they were in these kind of positions, always making the midfield seem a bit more bulky. I don't see that for Manchester United.
Yeah, and I think for us, as from Palace, like the front 3, we're always instructed to close the middle, to block out that middle. And you see here that they're kind of caught between no man's land. And you can see, like, it's just, they're reactive once again. I think the midfield are jumping out when they shouldn't be jumping out. They're not covering around when they need to cover around.
You happy with Yoro going in?
I'm very happy with the centre-half stepping in, because when you play a back 5, you can allow one of the left or the right side centre-half, or even sometimes the middle one as well. They can jump in, and you've still got a back 4. You've still got the safety of a back 4. But you need him to be front-footed, and I think right now he's kind of going into an area where there's no one really to pick up. It's a long way for him to go when they've got time on the ball.
See, that's my thought about this. There's Man City's front 3, and I'm saying, well, if our midfield 3 are stepping in and Yoro's becoming that, can we get closer?
Yeah.
Whichever way you decide to go, can we get tighter? Can we get closer? Can we make a little bit more impact? And
yeah.
I don't know if I'm seeing that.
I think for me, if he is, then he potentially has to try and sorry, let me just get that one there. He has to potentially get a little bit of pressure on the ball. That means then, Mbeumo can come in narrow. Oh, apologies. He can come in narrow and block off that line. Mm-hmm. And if he needs to, he can make a double run out wide. But it just gives you a base of not allowing teams to play through the middle.
Well, we'll just run this on. I just feel it's easy to get players into this position again. That's too simple a ball. I beg your pardon, that's too simple a ball. I want Ahmed coming in the centre. So if your midfielder goes all the way across, you have to sense danger. You have to force these passes out wide. You can't allow teams to come through the centre of you. It's very easy, couple of passes, very good from Manchester City quality, but before you know it, you're back inside your own penalty area again. There's that position, Bruno trying to scramble again to get up back to Reinders, who's he's up against in midfield. They were in competitive moments before. He's just lost concentration for a moment and actually ends up getting another shot on goal. And again, goals. Second goal.
Yeah, the second goal. I think here for me, if we just wind this back, there's a few things for me here that kind of are causes for concern to a degree. I think the way in which we start this play here, you have to try and force the team back. You know, for me as a defender, I know I've done my job if they play backwards and come out of that area. But Mazuari, he can step up into here, which would be enabling, you know, the midfield not to jump out. But in it all, it's very reactive. You can have the Mbeumo being in a better position where he can then defend from the front, and you lock City in and force them back. But as it turns out, you know, they get caught in trying to do other people's jobs. People get turned. Here as well, I've got to say, as a defender, I never want to get caught the wrong side as my attacker. So when Euro lets Doku go goal side, it's game over. He's got his body turned. Haaland's making that run, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's the run you'd expect Haaland to make. I think there are much better ways of defending it. And this was United. This is the third goal. United in possession of the ball comfortably. City not posing too much of a threat. Suddenly City sense danger, and Manchester United are at 6s and 7s and never able to recover. And I just look at this Manchester United team and I'm wondering, are they getting any better? Are they looking like they're going to improve? This is the squad. This is the depth. These are the quite a few players that he's brought into the team within this system. I'm not sure how many of them, in my opinion, are suited to being where they are. I think I want Burma up there. I want Bruno in there. I want probably Cunha further forward. I think Shaw's at his best. I think that's just my opinion. I don't know. We talk about it again and again. It seems simple enough. I'm not sure this system is going to get the best out of those players. And he's under pressure. You know, only 1 point per game since his time as Manchester United manager. Let's take a walk over to Leroy. That's got to put him under pressure, Leroy. 1 point per game since he's joined. By far the worst for Manchester United. They've got to expect more than that.
They've got to expect more. It's unbelievable, isn't it? Only 8 wins out of 31 games. This is Man United, you know, and you know, it's something they've got to just be better. The thing is, I thought they worked really hard yesterday, and that's the really worrying thing for me. They worked really hard. It's still comfortable for City.